Confidence isn't natural, it's trained. Confidence isn't something you were born with, it's something you build, slowly, quietly, repeatedly. But most people spend their entire life waiting for confidence instead of creating it. They think one day they'll wake up feeling ready, ready to speak, ready to act, ready to take risks. But that day never comes, because confidence doesn't come first. Action comes first, and confidence follows. Right now, you don't feel confident, not because you're incapable, but because your brain is trying to protect you. Every time you think about speaking up, your mind says, "What if you sound stupid?" Every time you think about trying something new, it says, "What if you fail?" Every time you step outside your comfort zone, it creates fear. Not because you are weak, but because your brain is designed to avoid uncertainty. Your mind doesn't want you to look bad. It doesn't want you to be judged. It doesn't want you to feel uncomfortable. So it keeps you small. It keeps you quiet. It keeps you safe. But here's the truth. Safe doesn't mean successful. Safe means stuck. Think about how many opportunities you've missed just because you didn't feel confident enough. How many times you stayed silent when you had something valuable to say. How many times you avoided something even though you knew it could change your life. That's not lack of talent, that's lack of confidence. And confidence is not something you wait for, it's something you build through uncomfortable action. Every confident person you see today was once unsure, was once afraid, was once insecure. The difference is, they didn't wait, they acted anyway. They spoke even when their voice shook. They tried even when they doubted themselves. They showed up again and again. And through that repetition, their confidence was built, not in one moment, but over time. Confidence grows from evidence. When you take action, you create proof. Proof that you can handle discomfort. Proof that you can survive mistakes. Proof that you can improve. And every time you gain that proof, your mind becomes quieter, because now it has less reason to doubt you. But if you avoid action, you create the opposite. You create proof that you can't do it. You create patterns of hesitation. You train your brain to believe that you are not capable, and that belief becomes your identity. That's why confidence is not about thinking positive, it's about doing difficult things, small things, daily things, consistent things. You don't need to become fearless, you just need to stop running. Because fear doesn't go away when you avoid it, it grows. It becomes stronger, louder, more convincing, until it controls your life. But the moment you face it, even slightly, it weakens. That's the beginning of confidence. Not feeling ready, but moving forward anyway. Confidence is built in moments nobody sees. When you push yourself to speak, when you force yourself to try, when you take action despite doubt. And those moments add up, day by day, decision by decision, until something changes. You start hesitating less, you start speaking more, you start trusting yourself. Not because fear disappeared, but because you learned to act with it. That's real confidence. Not perfection, not comfort, but control. Control over your actions even when your mind is loud. And once you understand this, everything shifts. You stop waiting, you stop overthinking, you start asking, "Am I ready?" And you start asking, "What can I do right now?" Because confidence is not built in the future, it's built in the present, in small actions, in uncomfortable choices, in moments where you decide to move forward instead of staying safe. And that's where your transformation begins. Confidence isn't natural, it's trained. Most people are not lacking confidence, they are lacking evidence. Because confidence doesn't come from thinking, it comes from proof. Proof that you can handle pressure. Proof that you can survive mistakes. Proof that you can keep going even when things feel uncomfortable. But here's the problem. Most people never give themselves that proof. They stay inside their comfort zone. They avoid situations that challenge them. They wait until they feel ready. And because of that, they never grow. Confidence is like a muscle. If you don't use it, it weakens. If you train it, it grows. But training confidence is not comfortable. It requires you to do things that your mind wants to avoid. Speaking when you feel nervous. Taking action when you feel unsure. Trying something new even when you might fail. That's where confidence is built. Not in comfort, but in controlled discomfort. Let's break this down clearly. Your brain is always trying to protect your identity. If you see yourself as someone not confident, your brain will try to prove that belief true. It will remind you of past failures. It will highlight your weaknesses. It will create doubt before you even begin. And slowly, you start believing it. You start saying things like, "I'm just not confident. I'm not that type of person. I can't do this." And every time you repeat that, you make it stronger. Because your brain listens to repetition, and repetition creates identity. But here's the truth. Confidence is not your identity, it's your behavior. And behavior can be changed. Right now, your behavior is based on avoidance. You avoid discomfort. You avoid risk. You avoid situations where you might feel judged. And that avoidance is training your brain to stay small. But if you change your behavior, your identity starts to change. Not instantly, but gradually. This is where most people make a mistake. They try to jump from zero confidence to full confidence. They try to change everything overnight. But that doesn't work. Confidence is built in layers, step by step, action by action. You don't need to become extremely confident today. You just need to become slightly better than yesterday. That's it. Speak a little more. Try a little more. Push yourself a little more. Those small actions matter because they create momentum, and momentum builds confidence. Now here's something powerful. Confidence grows faster when you track progress, not big results, small wins. Every time you do something uncomfortable, that's a win. Every time you speak when you feel nervous, that's a win. Every time you take action instead of avoiding, that's a win. And when you start collecting these wins, your brain starts to change. It starts to see you differently, not as someone who avoids, but as someone who acts. And that shift is everything. Because once your brain trusts you, confidence becomes easier. You stop overthinking every move. You stop doubting every decision. You stop needing validation from others. Because now you have proof. Proof that you can handle situations. Proof that you can improve. Proof that you are capable. And that proof creates real confidence. Not fake confidence. Not temporary motivation. Real confidence. The kind that stays even when things get hard. But this only happens if you stay consistent. You can't train confidence one day and quit the next. You can't push yourself once and expect change. You have to repeat it, again and again, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it, because those are the moments that matter most. The moments when your mind says don't do it, and you do it anyway. That's where confidence is built. That's where identity shifts. That's where growth happens. And over time, something changes. You don't feel as scared. You don't hesitate as much. You don't doubt yourself the same way. Not because fear disappeared, but because you became stronger than it. And that's the real goal. Not to eliminate fear, but to stop letting it control you. Because confident people are not fearless. They just don't listen to fear the same way. They hear it, but they don't obey it. And once you reach that level, your life changes. Because now you are no longer waiting. You are moving. You are trying. You are growing. And confidence becomes a result of who you are becoming, not something you are chasing.
Confidence isn't natural. It's trained. Let's make this real, because confidence is not built in theory. It is built in moments, small moments that most people ignore. Think about your daily life, the conversations you avoid, the decisions you delay, the actions you keep postponing. That's where your confidence is leaking. Not in big opportunities, but in small, everyday situations. You don't need a stage to build confidence. You need awareness. Awareness of when you are choosing fear instead of action. Because confidence is built in those exact moments. When your mind says, stay quiet, and you choose to speak. When your mind says, wait a little longer, and you choose to act. When your mind says, what if you fail, and you choose to try anyway. Those are confidence reps. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, taking small risks builds confidence. But here's the key. You need to start small. Most people fail because they aim too big too fast. They try to suddenly become bold, fearless, and perfect. That's not how it works. Confidence grows gradually, layer by layer. You start with small actions. Make eye contact when you talk. Speak clearly instead of softly. Say your opinion even if it's not perfect. These things may seem small, but they are powerful because they train your brain. They show your mind that you are safe, that nothing bad happens when you step forward. And slowly, your comfort zone expands. What once felt scary becomes normal. What once made you nervous becomes easy. That's progress. Now let's talk about something deeper. Confidence is strongly connected to how you see yourself, your self-image. If you see yourself as weak, your actions will reflect that. If you see yourself as capable, your behavior will change. So how do you change your self-image? You don't change it by thinking. You change it by acting differently. Every action you take sends a message to your brain. When you act with courage, you tell your brain, I am capable. When you avoid, you tell your brain, I am not ready. And your brain believes whatever you repeat. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need one big moment of courage. You need many small moments, repeated daily. Because those moments shape your identity, and your identity shapes your life. Now, here's something most people ignore. Your environment affects your confidence. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the energy around you. If you are constantly around negativity, your confidence will drop. If you constantly compare yourself, your confidence will weaken. But if you surround yourself with growth, with learning, with positive input, your confidence will rise. Because your mind adapts to what it sees regularly. So be careful. Protect your mental space. Feed your mind the right things. Because confidence is not just internal, it's influenced by everything around you. Now let's talk about failure. The biggest enemy of confidence is not failure, it's fear of failure. Because failure itself is actually a tool. Every time you fail, you learn something, you improve something, you grow stronger. But if you avoid failure, you avoid growth. And without growth, confidence cannot exist. So instead of fearing failure, you need to redefine it. Failure is not a loss, it's feedback, it's information, it's a step forward. Confident people understand this. That's why they take more action. That's why they improve faster. Because they are not afraid to look bad for a moment in order to become better in the long run. And this is where everything shifts. When you stop trying to protect your image and start focusing on growth, confidence becomes natural. Because now you are not worried about being perfect, You are focused on becoming better. And that mindset is powerful. It removes pressure. It removes fear. It allows you to act freely. And when you act freely, confidence flows. Not forced, not fake, but real. Built through experience, built through action, built through growth. And once you reach that stage, you don't need to ask, how do I be confident? Because you are already becoming it.
Confidence isn't natural, it's trained. There is something most people never admit. Confidence is not just about action, it's also about how you talk to yourself. Because your mind is always speaking. Every moment, every situation, there is a voice inside your head. And that voice is shaping your confidence every single day. Think about it. Before you speak, your mind says something. Before you try, your mind says something. Before you take a risk, your mind reacts. And most of the time, that voice is negative. Don't do it. You're not ready. You might fail. People will judge you. This voice feels real. It feels like truth. But it's not. It's conditioning. It's a pattern your brain has learned over time. And if you don't challenge it, it will control your life. Confidence is not just about facing the outside world. It's about controlling your inner world. Because if your inner voice is weak, your actions will be weak. If your inner voice is strong, your actions become powerful. So the real question is, who is speaking inside your head? And more importantly, are you listening blindly? Most people don't even question their thoughts. They assume everything they think is true. But that's the biggest mistake. Because your thoughts are not facts. They are suggestions. And you have the power to accept or reject them. This is where real confidence begins. When you stop believing every negative thought. When you start questioning your mind. When you take control of your internal dialogue. Instead of saying, I can't do this, you say, I will try anyway. Instead of saying, I'm not confident, you say, I'm learning to become confident. That small shift matters because words shape belief, and belief shapes action. Now let's go deeper. Confidence is also about self-respect, how you treat yourself, how you see yourself, how you value yourself. If you constantly break your promises, if you constantly delay your goals, if you constantly choose comfort over growth, you lose respect for yourself. And without self-respect, confidence cannot exist because deep down, you don't trust yourself, you don't believe in yourself, you don't feel strong. But when you start keeping your word, even in small things, everything changes. You say you will do something, and you do it. No excuses, no delays. That builds self-trust, and self-trust builds confidence. Now let's talk about comparison, one of the biggest confidence killers. You look at others, you compare their success, their looks, their life, and you feel smaller, less capable, less worthy. But here's the truth. You are comparing your beginning to someone else's result. You are comparing your struggle to someone else's highlight. And that comparison is unfair because you don't see their journey. You don't see their failures. You don't see their growth. You only see the result. And that creates illusion. Confidence grows when you focus on yourself, your progress, your improvement, your path, not someone else's. Because your only competition is who you were yesterday. Now here's something powerful. Confidence is not loud. It's not about showing off. It's not about proving others wrong. Real confidence is quiet. It's calm. It's controlled. It's knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way without panic, without fear, without doubt controlling you. And that kind of confidence is built through discipline, through consistency, through self-control. It's not instant, it's earned.
And once you earn it, no one can take it away from you. Because it's not based on external validation, it's built internally. Now think about this. What would your life look like if you were confident? What would you do differently? What would you say? What would you try? That version of you already exists, not in the future, but inside you, right now. It's just hidden under fear, under doubt, under hesitation. And your job is to remove those layers, not by waiting, but by acting. Every single day, small steps, small risks, small wins. Until one day, you don't even recognize yourself anymore. Because now you are stronger, you are calmer, you are confident. Not because life became easier, but because you became better.